Okay. Good evening, guys. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. I believe you can all hear me perfectly. Thanks for joining. I know a lot of people, maybe other people are still trying to join. How is everyone doing? Can you hear me? Please put it in the chat. Can you hear me? Can you guys?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Okay, nice. Yeah, thanks for joining. And I hope a lot of people will still join. Okay, so I said we should touch base. We are supposed to be holding this monthly, once in a month. We've not been consistent, but I think from now on, we shall be consistent. And the topic for today is something that is still hot in the industry. Is about the NIST Risk Management Framework 2.0. Okay, NIST recently released a new version of their popular framework. For some of us that did the CAP, the one we treated was that's version 1.1. There is not too much difference, but we'll go through it in the course of this cyber chat. Then and there will be okay, the agenda will follow this way. We'll talk about cyber news. I will discuss NIST Framework 2.0, and there will be question and answer. I mean, just there will be opportunity for you to ask questions, even beside the topic, any kind of questions you might have, or interaction or comment, and we'll wrap it up with one announcement. So that's going to be the agenda for the day. So you're all welcome once again. Emmanuel, Folashade, Jude is dialing from two devices. And I have Narayani online as well. You're welcome. Victor, this is your full name. First time I'm seeing your full name. That's good. Faith. Okay, so cybercrime, of course, is on the rise, as we all know. That's why you are in this industry. One of your core duties or objective or purpose is to safeguard organization from cyber attack. And this event actually happened, today is 18, okay, today is 19. This occurred yesterday in the US. One of the telecom giants actually had to shut down one of their systems yesterday because of cyber incidents, because of cyber attack. Okay. Said the Frontier said it detected unauthorized access to its IT system on April 14. So the attacker has been on their network, raking havoc for like 4 days before this maybe discovered it. Okay. So they had to shut down some of their servers, their company systems, and in the process causing operational disruption that the company said could be considered material. Okay, whether it's material or not material, but the thing is that the incident caused a lot of operational disruption. So they are still investigating it, they are still containing it, it's still very live. They this is as reported as at yesterday. So the source is from Cybercrime Magazine. You can Google it to know more. But this is just to also let us know that the bad guys are not sleeping. Okay, they are not, they are constantly evolving with new strategies, new tools. So we as cybersecurity professionals, we need to constantly be, at the edge. You have to be moving at almost at the same pace like the attackers are moving. But I still give the company some kudos because at least they were able to even detect that something is going on, and they probably have good incident response in place for them to have already to detect the intrusion and to start performing some containment measures. So that's good enough. But at the same time, they had to shut down some of their critical servers. And we know what that means to the business. So that's the cyber news that we evaluate for today. For every of our cyber chat meeting, we always bring forward discuss a cyber incident. So this is just one of them. I know in our platform last week or 2 weeks ago, was it last week? One of the one of the schools in Canada was attacked, and the professors were scrambling for exam papers or so. The system were knocked down, so that disrupted the exam. They couldn't print out the exam script. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so that's about that. Any question on this? Any comment? Or any other thing you want to share regarding recent attack or news? So I hope you guys are watching. I mean, you are keeping abreast of happenings in the cybersecurity field. That's one of the ways by which you can stay abreast, as a cybersecurity professional. You need to know what is happening in the industry. If there is any serious attack going on, you need to get to know exactly what happened, what are the vulnerabilities involved, how did the attack come about, what are the tactics, that the attackers used to exploit those vulnerabilities. So it helps your knowledge. It even helps you at work, because if you know some of the vulnerabilities that were exploited, you want to check within your environment whether you are vulnerable, so that you can further protect your environment. So it's very important to, to keep abreast some of these as you as you go ahead in as one of your strategies to keep abreast of what is going on in the industry. So let's take it seriously, okay? All right. So no. So we just go to the NIST framework. Just let me bring it up. So this is the quick start over guide document as released by NIST. If you remember in version 1.1, quick question, please can you list some of our sites for cyber news? It will help us. Okay. Okay, no problem. I will send it out. Yeah, I will send it out. And some groups that you can join on LinkedIn for you to be receiving some of these news. They are very, very important. Okay. So now for the NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0, the one we are familiar with is 1.1. That's the version 1.1. And I think that came out, they've been using that from 2014. Okay. And basically all it has is all these functions, identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. For some of us that have gone through the CAP class, we treated all these in details. So the only thing that NIST has added is the govern function. And as you can see that govern actually covers every other functions. So it's not just another function, but there is an emphasis on govern as a function because it's kind of, it envelope every other function. And the reason is to give it the kind of attention that it deserves. Before, governance, was one of the controls, one of the categories under identify function. But now they brought it out and make it like a bedrock for all the other functions. And the reason is that they want the govern function, they want to give it the visibility that it deserves. When we say visibility, we are talking about a kind of they are bringing it to the board. They want it's like you bringing your cybersecurity program design and plan into the attention of the board of the organization. So so that as you are preparing, as you are kind of discussing or formulating business plan, you are also aligning, your cybersecurity program at the same time. So that's why they actually brought this govern, as a bedrock of the entire framework. So that once you have selected to use NIST Cybersecurity Framework, if you have selected to use NIST Cybersecurity Framework, then you need to set up the governance. So the governance is what will dictate how the other functions would run in your organization. So that's the way I interpret it. That's the way we'll still go into what is required to for the function, for the govern function, but primarily is to give visibility to the entire cybersecurity program, the entire cybersecurity framework. So, and even before, governance means that you are kind of designing you are designing the structure around the implementation of your cybersecurity framework. But this time, you want to give it that enlarged visibility. You want to take it to the board. You want to give it the attention it deserves. So recently, I mean, what you even discover is that even most CEOs now, as part of their corporate goals, they now include cybersecurity as part of their corporate goals. And the reason is, of course, with the kind of attack we are witnessing these days, if there is anything that is making some CEOs not to sleep at night, it has to be with the resilience of their cybersecurity program. Why? Because a simple attack can actually wreck the whole organization. Your organization might not come out of it if it happens to you. And that's why the governance structure around it has to be really supervised, has to be endorsed, and have the visibility to the board of directors. So that's why the govern function was introduced. And that's exactly why you can see, as it is in this diagram, it's like it's the bedrock, okay, for every other function. So that's the addition, that's the major difference between the old and the old framework and the new framework. Although they also introduced some categories and subcategories in some of the functions, but the major highlight is the introduction of this govern function in the NIST cybersecurity framework. All right. Do you have any question at this time? So now, when you want to refer to the new framework, is no more 5 functions, it's now 6 functions. And the first one, which is the bedrock, is the govern function. So you now have govern, identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. So you need to be updated. So check with your organization what they are doing about this, especially if you are using NIST framework. What are they doing regarding this? Are you moving to 2.0 or are you still keeping 1.1? Okay. If you are moving to 2.0, what changes need to be done in your operational activities? Okay, so let's move on. Let's see the major, for the govern. So you can see these are the what is needed for the govern function. The first thing is you must understand and assess specific cybersecurity need that has to be identified, and the explanation is here. Determine your organization unique risk and needs. That has to be established. The organization cybersecurity risk management strategy, expectations, and policies are established, communicated, and monitored. Okay, that's the essence of the govern. So you need to develop a tailored cybersecurity risk strategy. You can see. So when you are talking about the strategy, that's that will be determined by the leadership. That's why it's a strategy. This should be based on your organization-specific cybersecurity objective, the risk environment, and the lessons learned from the past and from others. Roles and responsibilities should be clear. Okay. Of course, so the aspect of cybersecurity that deals with that we call GRC, that's the governance, risk, and compliance. Of course, that governance is what we are talking about here, and it stipulates, how you want to carry out a cybersecurity program within your organization. And that will involve, how you want to identify the risk, how you want to determine your risk matrix. Remember what we mean by risk matrix, where you define, what are the different categories of risk that you have and their priorities, whether high, medium, or low, and determine exactly what those means for you. What's the level of risk that you classified as high? Which one is medium? Which one is low? So you need to tailor that to your specific organization. So that's what govern, and who does what? Who is the sponsor? Who is leading? Okay, the roles and responsibilities should be clear. Okay. And in that governance statement as well, you have to determine what are the for the other functions of identify, detect, protect. What are those controls that you want to implement there? It's not compulsory that you have to implement all the subcategories, all the controls, but in your governance document, you have to specify exactly which one you are implementing and how you want to carry out that implementation. That has to be clear. And apart from that, you also want to discuss how it will be monitored, measured, and monitored. Okay. And that's where you establish metrics that you want to use to be that you want to use to measure your performance as you go. So you establish the policies, develop, communicate organizational cybersecurity practices. Okay, that's talking about exactly overall technical landscape, document practices, and share with them room for feedback. Establish and monitor cybersecurity, supply chain risk management, implement continuous oversight and checkpoint. So this is where I say you have to implement some metrics that you want to use to be able to monitor exactly what you are doing. So in every organization, there will be, even though you have it, although it's not called governance policy, some companies will call it cybersecurity policy, while some other companies might also call it, I've worked for a company that calls it cybersecurity blueprint. But essentially, what this is saying is you want to really discuss how the cybersecurity program will run in your organization. Okay. And it has always been, I mean, that's what is normally, but NIST 2.0 is just bringing it to bear, for everybody to now to see that visibility, as in to give it the attention it requires and to properly document it. That's why they are bringing it as one of the options, and they are suggesting exactly what you should do, by all these points, develop a tailored cybersecurity risk strategy. So here is where you, um, you know, discuss about the risk environment. You talk about the risk management policy. How do you want to carry out risk assessment? Okay. When we are talking about risk assessment, remember, how do we measure risk? By likelihood and impact, severity. So, and that's why you have to define the risk assessment matrix that you want to use. Everything has to be properly defined here. Develop and communicate organizational cybersecurity practices. They must be straightforward and communicated regularly. Okay, so communication is very important. So meaning that's this is part of a user awareness, section. And so you want to do that. So this is everything that is contained under govern, and which is a new function that has been added, to the NIST cybersecurity framework. Before, it was just a control, but now is a full-blown function under the framework. Any question at this time? Any comment? Okay, so that's govern. For the identify, I believe that's something that we are familiar with before now. The identify function is something that there is nothing much that has changed there. The identify, the protect, the detect, respond, and recover. It's still is the way we are all familiar with that. The only thing that has changed, like I said earlier, is the govern. But just to go, I'm not going to go too much deeper into the other functions, but we'll still dwell on the govern. And let's see some of the some examples that have been provided, also with by NIST on how to implement this govern function. So so these are some of the suggested points, by NIST when you are defining the govern function. Like the first category is saying organizational context. Okay, so meaning that you need to tailor it to your own environment by doing what? By establishing the mission, the stakeholder expectation, dependencies, legal, regulatory, and contractual requirements, surrounding the organizational management decisions are understood. Okay, so now look at the first subcategories, saying that the organizational mission is understood and informs cybersecurity risk management. And how do you want them? You can see under this implementation example, how you can achieve this is number one, they say share the organization's mission to provide a basis for identifying risk that may impede that mission. Okay, so as you can see, as we are defining your corporate objective, corporate mission or vision, you are also defining it to align with your cybersecurity strategy. Okay, that's why that governance is being brought forward, to the leadership attention, so that you have a specific cybersecurity, so that your cybersecurity strategy will align with your organizational mission. So that has to be defined here. And look at this second category, subcategory, saying internal and external stakeholders are understood and their needs and expectations regarding cybersecurity risk management are understood and considered. Okay. And example of how to implement this, he said, identify relevant internal stakeholders and their cybersecurity related expectations, e.g., performance and risk expectations of officers, directors, and advisors, and cultural expectations of employees. This is like, it's not going to be easy. My thinking is this new framework, the kind of expectation of it will take some time before it will really gain ground, and people are still discussing it anyway. Since this thing has released, there have been a lot of pushback, a lot of discussions around it, because NIST is trying to it's like trying to you don't want to make each organization a cybersecurity organization, right? But it's like you are trying to create an overall cyber. I don't even know how to do this, because if you look at this is exactly how, when you are formulating organizational corporate objectives and practices, this is what you do. But now you are bringing cybersecurity into the forefront of the people that actually that craft those objective. You are bringing it forward to them, and it's like you are saying that for every mission, for every objective or performance of whatever expectation of the organization, you have to put the cybersecurity context to it. That's exactly what this framework is driving at. So the implementation is going to be really it's going to be tedious, really. Like, look at this one. They identify relevant external stakeholders and their cybersecurity related expectations, privacy of customers, business expectation of partnership, compliance expectation of regulators, ethics expectation of society. So as you are determining your business objective, you must also think about the cybersecurity implication of it. So that's what this framework is really trying to say. Yeah, Victor, go ahead.
Yeah, so like what you were saying, right? I think what NIST is trying to, be ahead of is with this onslaught of the AI,
Mm,
right? It means that because everything you do now is AI. If you even go to your chat GPT, or even yesterday I discovered that WhatsApp has its own meta AI now.
mm,
Right? You could ask WhatsApp on at Meta AI, tell me this, and it will give it to you on WhatsApp. That is your private WhatsApp.
mm,
So you see that um, assets now, even if there's no way you'll be thinking of assets or risks without actually thinking of your cyber security. It is one of the things you discuss in terms of protection of your assets. So I think NIST is trying to be ahead of the curve by bringing in this. Like you said, this is going to be an ongoing. People will still be doing 1.1 like we did at CAP, right?
yeah.
But this too is nice for those who want to go deeper. But to get to a stage where if you want to deal with Microsoft now, they will ask you whether you are at 2. Because I don't know whether you are aware, sometime I was asking when you were getting your news. Sometime in is it March? But it was in February, but in March, Microsoft discovered that APT 27, that's the group, Advanced
Mm-hmm.
Persistent Threat 27,
Mm-hmm.
uh, gained unauthorized access to their system, and we are able to, in short, what Microsoft has told its partners is assume that all our correspondences with you
Mm-hmm.
is with the threat actors.
Yeah.
So if you have ever opened any ticket with Microsoft, just assume that they have it worldwide. And because they have it worldwide, maybe the time they might get to the emails I've had with your organization might be in the next 7 months, not now, but assume they have it. So you could see is now Microsoft is not telling the customers or the clients where the uh, 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 um, breach came from, whether it was from their own end or whether it was from one of their partners. You know, so a stage might we might get to a stage whereby these organizations might want to be sure that the the governing function in your organization is such that threats like this, cyber threats, is up there in terms of when you're talking about disasters, that is up there.
Yeah.
So I understand people having to get a pushback like, oh, why should I talk about this when I'm trying to talk about how to make money? But again, you are dealing with organizations who also want to protect themselves. So they want to make sure you get to this. So a stage will come when this governing part, like this GRC part, will be the main thing. Like you said, it used to be a control, but they've pushed it to a function.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's happening right now.
Yeah. Yeah, you're very right. Is you know, like I said earlier, the only thing what they are trying to do is to give cybersecurity the concern, the level of visibility and concern that the leadership they need to really understand, and because I've gone through this, for you to properly implement all these, it's going to be an enormous task, in the part of the board of directors. Okay. So because for every business goals that you have to, align it. You have to talk about the cybersecurity strategy aspect of it, which is good anyway. It is good news to cybersecurity community, because it's going to, especially people in GRC, it's going to give you the kind of visibility you require. But at the same time, it's going to be an enormous task on the part of the leadership to implement all this. And there is already some pushback regarding it. So, especially when it comes to this organizational context. So, because what I mean is that you have to reconsider all your business uh, objectives and properly align it with your cybersecurity strategy. For the risk management strategy, you probably have that before now. So that's not gonna really be an issue. For the risk management strategy, that is okay. So another thing they've brought forward is the cybersecurity supply chain risk management. Okay. Even this one as well. This one is good in the sense that for you to now have it on the governance side, before now, you still have some organizations that they just award contracts to some vendors without really evaluating the cybersecurity implication of those vendors. But that's not going to be the case again if you implement this properly. So meaning that your contract process, your contract award process, or your vendor relationship management process will have to be, redefined. Will have to be rewritten. For example, it will now means that before, if you don't have any requirement or qualification for vendors as regards cybersecurity requirement, now you have to have it. Now you have to have it. That's what this is going to do, especially when it comes to this supply chain risk management. So it means that before you even subscribe to any software or before you buy any solution, you want to consider the cyber risk involved, which is a good thing. Okay. Is one of the controls in the past, but under-identified, but most organizations they don't follow it. So if you bring it back to, if you now introduce it under the govern function, where it gains visibility with, the leadership. Okay, so they can, for example, if you have director of supply chain or vice president, supply chain management on the board. Okay, so he has to come up with the cybersecurity supply chain risk management. It has to be discussed at that level. So if it's being discussed at that level, so whatever plan they have for the organization in the area of supply chain management, he has to take on the cybersecurity aspect of it as well. So that's the level of visibility, that the govern function is going to give the whole cybersecurity framework. Then the roles, responsibility, and authorities. This is another big one. Although, before now, something that has happened in the industry is that you have the CISO, the role we call CISO. That's Chief Information Security Officer. That's the highest cybersecurity position in every organization. So although there has been some drive to always have CISO on the board as well, to have CISO on the board as part of the board of directors. Some organizations have implemented that. Some organizations that take cybersecurity very seriously, they've already implemented that. Some organizations have not. Some still have, they have in such a way that you have the IT function and you have the cybersecurity function, so that you have the CISO, that's the head of cybersecurity, and you have the IT director of IT. So you have director of IT, director of cybersecurity, reporting to CIO, that's the Chief Information Officer. And CIO is normally the one on the board of director. But with this NIST 2.0 is kind of also pushing it further, to have CISO role at the director's level. Because when you are discussing cybersecurity strategy at the board level, you need a leader, in that area. You need one of the leaders that understand the cybersecurity strategy. You need the CISO, the head of cybersecurity, to be at that level. Or if that one is not possible early, it might also promote that the role of the CIO will be somebody that also have cybersecurity background, not really a typical IT guy. So all I see is visibility, trying to really hammer the importance of cybersecurity in the environment. Okay. And it's going to be a big deal, but whether that will be implemented or the extent to which it will be implemented would determine on the would be determined by the organization. So you can see leaders direct the CISO to maintain a comprehensive cybersecurity risk strategy and review and update it at least annually and after major events. So CISO, this role is going to have good or better visibility now if the framework is properly implemented. Organizational cybersecurity policy established, communicated, and enforced. Yeah, that one is probably in place already. So you have this document that you can go through the details. But one thing, lastly, before we go, one thing I want to also point out is that one good thing about this framework is that they have a small business quick start guide, which the former does not have. Because, before, as a small business, you might not be able to implement, the full scale of NIST cybersecurity framework. But NIST 2.0 has come up with a guide that will kind of assist small business, to streamline their cybersecurity strategy, at least at their own level. And you can see, for example, they are saying that for a small business, you're governed. So you can see that for this one, they don't necessarily have to follow the nitty-gritty of the categories, the subcategories, the controls, that needs to be involved. They're just saying, okay, for the govern function, just this small table, say, set organizational context, our business mission statement, put it there. Then what cybersecurity risk may prevent us from achieving this mission? So you can discuss it and list it. Okay. Then documenting cybersecurity requirement. List your legal requirement, list your regulatory requirement, and list your contractual requirement. That's for small business. Okay. So if you are able to properly carry out this exercise as a small business, let's say like a vendor or a contractor, for example, then it will mean that you are, at least you are doing something around govern, okay? And you can show it to whoever you are working with that, okay, we are also implementing this framework so that, we talked about the supply chain cybersecurity risk management in the other slide. So if I, as a big company, I need the service of a vendor, so instead of, before we normally use maybe carry out a risk assessment on the product the vendor is offering, or asking for their SOC 2 report, or for CIS control, all those small cybersecurity framework to assess them. But now you can, if a vendor is coming with NIST framework, we can easily adapt that to see whether it fits with our own strategy. So if you as a vendor, you are telling me, okay, you are following a NIST framework, this is as far as the governance function is concerned, these are something that you have in place. Okay, if you look at the identify, it's saying you must have a register that contains all this. You identify the software or hardware, asset, official use, what do you use it for, who is the asset owner, and identify sensitive area the asset has access to, is multi-factor in place, and the risk to business if you lose it. You can see this is a very simplified way of performing identified function. So if I'm dealing with a vendor, I can easily, if they have this, if they implement this NIST 2.0, I can easily integrate it with our own cybersecurity strategy, which is also NIST 2.0. But before now, small business cannot, they can't implement this framework, the NIST the 1.1 version, because it's very, very elaborate, very, very quite a very elaborate. And that's something that this 2.0 has done. So this is another change in the industry, meaning that if you are able to use, they are trying to have a like a baseline for you to evaluate your vendors, especially the small businesses, and for them to also comply with risk framework, with NIST framework, I mean. So that's another good thing about the framework. So this is new in the industry, and it kind of simplifies the way you perform vendor evaluation. So, and I really like it, especially from consulting point of view. So this is really good. And each small business can also come with their full chest that they're also implementing, this framework. So that's one good thing about the new version. So in conclusion, in all I can say is that it's a good news for the community. It helps to solidify and to give you the visibility you deserve. And but the implementation is going to be, of course, it's going to take long. The current framework has been around since 2014. That's 10 years. So this one is just the new one. So it's still going to take some time before they start implementing it properly. So, but it's just for us to be aware. And that's one of the reasons why we do cyber chat, so that you know what is going on in the industry, so that you are not surprised when they are discussing. So if you are discussing this framework, you know that we have the old version and we have the new version. So I just said I should bring this to our attention. So I'm going to send the document ahead so you can go through it and read about it properly. Okay, so that's what I have for today, for this month, just to keep us updated. So at this time, I welcome comments. So what do you think in your organization? Which one are you using? Which framework are you using? If you are using NIST, how do you see this new version being implemented, or whether the one you have is already is sufficient enough, or what's your thought? So I'm open to comment now. Anyone?
Well, thank you, Kochi, once more, for this, this new information. In organization, I know we use a combination of NIST and CIS controls as usual. So, but the NIST framework is quite large. So, and the CIS control too. When we're doing CAP, we noticed that they are both almost the same. What is in Identify 3.0, you will see it in NIS, CIS control 1 point something, So we use a combination of this. And with this new version, that has now thrown up the govern function as a function and not as a control now.
Yeah.
I know most big organizations will want to adapt this because they also want to, comply with the standards. So the those in GRC will have a lot to do in their template because now they will have to not only be a control but be part of the function. So when the guys in the incident response team are talking, the GRC guys will also have a seat on that table. So I think it's something that most organizations will adapt. If they've actually adapted it, but now they will make it part of their functions, like the way they treat the identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. They will treat govern as part of that function too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very, very correct. Yeah, it's going to further give, even though out of all the teams in cybersecurity, the people that have the highest visibility before has always been the GRC people, In CAP, I normally say that those are the people that are very close to the management. That if you really want to, quickly get to the top, the GRC function will get you faster to the top. So yeah, I mean, they're going to get much visibility now because now they are now, it's like promoting their function basically, beyond just administering controls and now to actually, if you look at it in every organization, especially big organization, each of the NIST cybersecurity function is usually headed by a manager, okay? By a manager, so that you have the infrastructure manager, heading the identify function. You have the network security, the network security or security engineering under the protect function. Those are the people that that do the design of all the cybersecurity devices. So you need to be headed by a manager. Then you have the detect function. Those are the SOC people. And that will also be headed by a manager. Okay. Then you have the respond, well, that's the incident response group. So that one is actually headed by a manager as well. And of course, the recover, that's the backup and recovery or business continuity. That's also big, also normally being headed by a manager. So you discover that typically in a large organization, each of the NIST framework functions is headed by a manager. So now that they are now introduced, and before, governance was under identify, okay? Now that governance is now a new function, and of course, it encompasses all of them. So I'm seeing a situation whereby, there will be like a senior manager, heading that governance function. So it's good for the industry. It's good for GRC people, okay? And just like Victor said, it's going to be a whole lot of work. And but most importantly, there will be some power tussle between me. That's me now, bringing it to the real implementation of it as far as power tussling is concerned. There will be a lot of rigor between the CISO and the CIO in all those top organizations. So because the CIO is normally the one that is on the board, okay, and the CISO reports to the CIO. So now, if you really want to implement this framework very well, it will require the CISO to be on the board. So I don't know how they would do that, in the real sense of it, but by and large, it's a good news for the industry. It's giving us the attention that we deserve, and we should embrace it. Okay. Any other comments? Who are the people that, apart from Victor, who else? Who are the people that also? Oh, Victor, you still want to talk? Go ahead.
No. I'm waiting for. No, I wanted to say that I've not seen anything on our Discord channel for a while.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Don't mind people. I'm trying. I'm trying to
You need to spice it up.
people up. Yeah, I mean, I will. I don't know. People people prefer to use WhatsApp than Discord, and I wonder why. And let me say this: now that we are here, let me say this: if you don't check our Discord, especially if you are not checking the job section, almost on a daily basis, I do post vacancies on that job section. Even if there is nothing that will take you to Discord, at least for some of us that are still looking for a job, let's be checking the job section of the Discord channel. Okay, be checking the job section of the Discord channel. People will rather message me on WhatsApp than to go and discuss on Discord. I don't know why. Um, and I really want that Discord channel to really to be very, very effective, because there are a lot of things that we can share on the Discord that we can't that is better shared on Discord than WhatsApp. But I find that a lot of people just prefer WhatsApp. Maybe I'll be limiting my post to Discord instead of all those small stuff that I post on WhatsApp, so that will take us to Discord. But something that I've implemented is that I don't post job on WhatsApp, if you notice, but I still post jobs on Discord steady. So if you are not checking it, you are missing out. Please, if you are actively looking for a role, I would suggest that you check the job. Let me actually pull up our Discord so that you see what I'm talking about. Yeah, this is our Discord channel. Even the new CAP students, they are not making use of this Discord. Many of you will be sending me message directly. I will not respond to your message. If you need anything, send it to Discord. You have a section dedicated to you, CAP6. Use Discord. Then this general, that's where you can post anything. Everybody will see it, depending on whether you are old student or new student. Then, if you look at the job section, I do post stuff there. I do post, you can see job. I do post jobs there. So if you are actively looking for a job, and the reason why I do post jobs is because I look at those jobs, and any job you see here, just know that I know that you have the capacity to apply for it. That's why I normally put it here. So if you are not checking this job section, you are kind of missing out. And maybe those things that I normally post as well to WhatsApp, I will restrict some of them and start posting it I want the Discord to be very active. It should be active. The WhatsApp is supposed to be general, even for people outside of our CEP environment. It is this Discord that is going to be supposed to be our major collaborative platform. But anyway, I'm still working Yeah, unless you have suggestions on how we can make it interactive, we don't mind.
No. What you're doing is good. Don't mind us. It's just that we're looking for full remote.
Yeah, so please, Discord is better to share information because you can share links, you can, and it will always be there, right? We can even pin messages. WhatsApp does not have those features. So please, let's endeavor to do that. So last question. Let me, apart from Victor, who else uh use NIST in their organization? Oh, okay. Anyway, for some of you that are not working in this field yet, if you get to your organization tomorrow, I'm sorry, tomorrow is weekend, on Monday, go and meet your cybersecurity guys and ask which framework are they using. If they say it's NIST, you can even challenge them. It may be a way of even you, striking a conversation so that they know that you also are aware of what is going on in the industry. Ask them what's the plan. What plan do they have in implementing NIST Framework 2.0 if you are using NIST? So I give you that assignment and let us know what the outcome is, please. Because this is real practical. I mean, this is what is happening in the industry. So for some of you that we even do interviews, somebody might even ask you at the interview that what's the latest NIST framework? What's different? How is it different from the one they are using before? Okay, it's something that they can ask you at the interview. Okay, no other comment. So you have left this page for only me and Victor. I will call people out. Oh.
Okay, so let me ask one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to know what is the meaning of NIST?
Oh, okay. Okay. Jude is CAP6, and CAP6 we are currently, I think we are doing module 3 tomorrow. Okay, that's why he's asking this. Okay, NIST stands for National Institute of Standard and Technology, I think. Yeah, technology. So is an organization from US. Okay, that this is yeah, National Institute
Uh,
of Standards and Technology. So is a US agency that is focused on cybersecurity, education, governance, and all that. And the what makes and they are the most popular in the industry. And what makes them to be popular is that their framework is free. You don't need license to implement their framework. Okay. Some other frameworks you have to get license for it. Like if you are doing ISO 27001, for example, is not free. So you have to get license for it. But all the resources that you require to implement NIST framework, they are all free. And it's kind of streamlined. One of the reasons why people embrace it in the industry is that it's very straightforward, easy to implement, and it's free as well. And one other thing they have done is that for each of the function, if you are implementing them correctly, chances are that you are also complying with other cybersecurity frameworks. Like when Victor was talking, he mentioned about some of the controls here that are also, as we implement them, you are also implementing CIS control, which is another framework entirely. So that's what makes NIST framework to be very common and popular, but it's run by US government and it's free. So in North America, almost all the organizations are using it. Outside of America, outside of North America, some in Europe they might be using some other framework, but in this North America, that is what is very popular. In our CAP class, this is what we'll do in Module 5. That's why you have not heard about it. So it's in Module 5. We're gonna
Okay, thank you, sir.
really talked about it. Yeah, but good question. Thanks for asking. And sure. Yeah, Temitope, go ahead.
All right, thank you so much, Coach, for bringing this to every one of us again. So I'm just wondering, and maybe wondering out loud, given how enormous this govern is, and also some of the things you pointed out about how not too easy it's going to be to have organizations put this up and align to it. I'm just wondering, is there like a timeline for organizations that are already using NIST framework and have every other thing going on? Is there a timeline for them to ensure that they fully implemented, or they are implementing the governed part as well? And if organizations decide not to go ahead, maybe not in the immediate future, to go ahead to put the governed part because of all the things that are involved, and it's not going to be so easy for them, is there any legal sanction or anything that they are going to face for that?
Okay, very good question, Tokwe. So, and that's the difference between a standard and a framework. So this is a framework. It's not compulsory. This is just a guide. It's just something that guides you. You are not mandated to follow this framework. So it's not something that is, nobody will hold you to it if you don't do it. Okay. But but for you to comply with some standards, if it's a standard, meaning that maybe by regulation, in the region where you are operating, or maybe because of specific industry that you are in, so you might have to implement some standards. And for you to implement some standard, of course, you need framework to be able to do that. So, for example, one of the popular standard is PCI DSS. That one is standard. That's a regulatory framework. If you store, process, transmit anything that has to do with credit card data, you are mandated to comply with PCI DSS standard. Okay, that's compulsory, but that's a standard. Okay, so but for you to meet that standard, you need to implement some framework to be able to meet those standards. So you can choose to use NIST, you can choose to use CIS control. PCI DSS has some requirements that you need to meet. So if you use NIST, for example, NIST framework, if you implement NIST framework, for example, for sure, you will be able to meet those standards. Okay? But if you don't use NIST, you can use some other framework to be able to meet the standard, the PCI DSS standard. And you may choose not to even use any framework and just go to, okay, what are the requirements to meet the PCI DSS standard, and start implementing them. But what framework does for you is for you to be able to systemize the compliance for some of your standards that you are mandated to meet. So the framework will help you. So framework, normally, they are not something that is compulsory. They are not something that is mandated. You can choose to implement them or not. But if you are not implementing them, are you using other framework? For example, if you are not using NIST, are you using other framework? Okay, or you are not even using anything. That means you are not serious with your cybersecurity program. Okay, because if you are serious with your cybersecurity program, you want a systemized way, that you are using to govern your cybersecurity program. So yeah, it's just released. And like I told you, even the previous version has been around for 10 years now, since 2014. So, and it's not all the organizations that have used it. And as a matter of fact, you don't even need to implement all the controls in NIST. You can choose which one to implement there, although it's going to touch, for example, under the identify, if you have like 8 categories under the identify function, you can choose to implement just only 3 or 4 out of it. But let it be in your governance document that those are the things that you are implementing. So by and large, to come back to your question, frameworks are not, they are not compulsory. They are not, you don't have any sanction, for not using them, But the thing is, if you are working in an industry that require you to to conform to some standards, then you have to use, it's just normal that you use a framework to be able to achieve those. So you can choose NIST, you can choose other stuff. Yeah, so it's not compulsory. But if you are serious with your cybersecurity program as an organization, you must use, you must have a systemized way of carrying out those cybersecurity programs. And NIST helps you to be able to do that. Because when auditors come, auditor can, they want to have a formal way of measuring your performance. Even you yourself, you want to have a formal way of measuring your, determining your baseline, identify the gaps, perform gap analysis to be able to know, okay, where exactly do we want to get to? And that's what a framework will do for you, but it's not compulsory by any means. Okay, Madam Adidayo, go ahead.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah, okay. So me too, I'm just learning a lot about all these things. There's standard, there's framework, there's policies. So I was wondering, I know from standard, there's policy, there's procedure. So which one do they really use for the procedure? Is it those standards? Is it the policies? Is it the framework? Which one leads to the procedure finally?
Oh, good. Very, very good question. Those are kind of interview questions. So when we say standard, standard is something that has been established by an authority, and where the authority lies, you are mandated to conform to that standard. That's a standard, meaning that is been developed by an authority, and you are required to follow it. Okay, maybe by way of regulation or by way of oversight, you need to conform to that standard. Then when we talk about a framework is like a guideline. Okay, a framework is like a guideline. It's something that would kind of guide you, to maybe to conform to a particular standard. Like I said earlier, we have the PCI DSS standard. Okay, and it has its own set of requirements. So for you to properly implement that standard, you need a guide. An example of a guide that you can use is NIST Cybersecurity Framework, a framework. Like CIS control is a framework. NIST Cybersecurity is a framework. ISO 27001, those are kind of standard or framework as well, to help you, to conform, like ISO 27001 standard. That's if you want to achieve that, ISO is all about certification. So if you want to get certified in ISO 27001, so that means you need to follow that standard, 27001 standard. But for you to implement it, you need a framework to be able to do that. Now, the policy is in your organization. How do you want to, we have adopted that, yes, we want to use NIST framework, but what are the governance structures that we need to put in place? How exactly do we want to implement that framework in our cybersecurity program, that's when you now need to develop, a policy document. Like in this one now, you need to develop a policy document for the implementation of that framework. So in the policy document, for example, if you are developing a policy governance, we normally call it governance document actually. For NIST framework, for example, you need to, discuss, it's part of what was discussed here. All these things have to be highlighted. You need to discuss, okay, what kind of framework you have adopted, what are the controls you want to list. Like I said, you don't need to implement all the controls, but you want to implement, you want to put it there. Your risk management strategy, you have to define it there. And your the way you want to measure your performance, of that cybersecurity program, you also want to put it there as well. So it will form, that's what it's like putting all the structure of your cybersecurity organization together and call it a policy. And that has to be approved by the leadership, because it is the approval of the leadership that will give you the backing to implement their policy, to be able to implement the framework. If there is no policy, then you are not being given the power. So that governance policy or that governance document is what gives you the backing, to be able to implement the framework. Okay, and that's why it has to be approved, because management might have to commit resources into some of the things that you have said you will do, like all those governance steps: detect, protect, identify. For you to be able to implement some of these things, you might need to purchase some tools. So that will involve money. So if the management has not approved you going on, there is no how they will commit resources for it. That's the essence of this policy document, which will be approved. Okay. And apart from the governance document, the overall policy for the program, you need to have individual policy around the controls. For example, under the protect, which you will have a password policy, for example. So that one will now go into details, how you want to, implement the password policy. And I think we did that during the CAP, where we talked about how to develop policies. I even took you to SANS sites to see some of the template for policies. So policy is telling you exactly how you are implementing either the entire overall program or each of those controls. That's what policy would define. Then procedure. Procedure will now tell you step by step how you implement each of the controls. For example, if there is a policy on backup and recovery, for example, now to carry out the backup step by step, I will need to develop a policy for it that you can give the policy to the person that will implement a particular backup, and the person will go for it from page to page, step by step. That, okay, click this, click that, with pictures of where to click and all that. That's the procedure. The procedure is the step-by-step, a document that will dictate exactly each step that you need to perform to be able to implement a control. For example, things around user permission, for example, you might have to develop a policy, a procedure. A procedure is like the normal day-to-day activity that you do, because you also want to systemize it, right? You don't want to be it's only John that knows how to create user. No. So John must document what he does. In the creation of user, there must be a step-by-step procedure that will be kept somewhere, so that when new person comes in, you can hand over that procedure to another person and the person will carry it out. So those are the differences between standard procedures, what is that thing? Standard procedure,
Policy
say,
baseline.
so yeah, I mean, so does that make sense? Does he ring bell?
Yes, it does. It does. I think you made it clearer. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah. So any other question? We still have like we have like 2 minutes more. Okay. So okay, so we are starting CISSP training new by popular demand. So it's going to run the entire weekends of in May. It's going to run, that's for 8 days. So Saturday, Sunday, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., 2 p.m. each day. So that's a total of 16 hours, 2 hours for each domain. So if you're interested, please reach out. That's coming up. I'm also planning cloud security training for June. We've only done one. That's the mock of it, and it was really nice. People gain a lot from it. That's in June. So, but the one we are preparing for right now is in 4th of May. So for some of you that are planning to write CISSP, I believe this training will be valuable in the sense that, if you have an instructor-led training, it will enhance your preparation for the exam as well. Because for each of the domains, you'll be able to see somebody that will explain to you from practical point of view, and I think that will really sink it more than you just reading over it. But if you gain the perspective of how each of the domain is practiced, in the industry, that will add some kind of value. That's the reason why I'm doing this. So if you're interested, please reach out. Apart from that, that's all I've got. Thank you so much for spending the last 90 minutes with me. It's good to see you guys again, to catch up. So yeah, I will be, it's not only me, we'll be more conversant with this monthly chat. So going forward. So yeah, so
Kochi,
yes.
I would have been joining the SSP class. But you delayed me. So I've
You've
so
gone
I'm
ahead to
announcing.
go and do. You've
I've
gone
done
ahead.
it, and I
You've
was
done it somewhere
successful.
else. Oh,
No, I had to. Yeah.
you've written the exam
Yes.
and you passed it. Good.
Yes.
And you did not tell me. You didn't tell us why.
No, they will give you provincial pass first.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You've passed. I mean, the only thing that remains is the endorsement.
Yeah.
And I can
Yes.
I can endorse you. You can, unless if you have done it, but I can nominate you. Yeah, we can discuss on that one later. That one is
Yeah. Yes. So
congratulations. That's a good one. Why did you not share it in our platform? Can you imagine?
I traveled now. I just came back on Monday. After the
Oh,
exam, it was too strenuous. I had to just travel for like 4 weeks.
wow,
I left Canada.
that's a good one. You are the first. You are the first student that passed the exam. That's good to you. That's good.
Yeah. So I was like,
That's good news.
because you said you're going to start. I said, start now. You kept on
Yeah,
pushing this.
I know a lot of people have been, it's my time, So, but I've even postponed it twice. But this one is
Yeah, I know.
this one is confirmed, is happening, because people have even, a lot of people have started making payments, so I can't run away again. So
Yeah.
so I'm committed to doing it. Oh, that's a good one. Good, congrats.
But we'll be coming to class. We must come to class.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we
We'll
must
need you
always
in
come to class.
class. Yeah, I think that you bring your perspective of how the exam went, because I did
Yeah.
long time ago. I did my own like 5 years ago. So
Yeah.
people like you, it will be fresh in your memory, and I think people would like to hear your perspective. What about Udi?
I think he's going to write his own. He didn't want to write until I wrote.
Oh, nice.
He didn't want to, so when I wrote, so then he said, okay, someone has crossed River Jordan.
That's a good one. No?
Yes.
That's a good one. So reach out so that we'll strategize.
Yes,
so that we'll strategize on the endorsement part.
yes.
Oh, good.
No worries at all. No worries at all.
Good. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Any other question? Last comment? If there is none, this is where we'll stop for today. Yeah. Thanks for congratulating Victor. Yeah, he has done so well. Yeah, Victor is one of the good ambassador of the academy. He's one of the people that always push me. Yeah. He was the one that pushed me to start the cloud security training. Yeah.
And it came out in CISSP. So
Yeah. Oh, really? Wow.
yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and he was also one of the people that was driving me for the CISSP training before, but he must still come to class anyway, even if he's going to facilitate. Okay, so thank you guys, and we'll see you again next month. So cheers and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.